Okay, so disclaimer, this is going to be an emotional conversation, which is why I'm going to be painting while I'm talking. And the other disclaimer is going to be that parts of this, we're just going to say that this is all just my experience and my feelings. And let's just hope that no one tries to mess with me over that. Okay, so why do I hate the 4th of July? Whew. That's a big question. So, to begin, we should start with the fact that the United States of America is a country that's built on stolen land in the first place. Just to put it bluntly, all the damn white people shouldn't have just come here and messed with everything. Because that wasn't great. And neither was, relocating, and eliminating indigenous populations and traditions and cultures, which has really left a mess. So now we've got that part out of the way. The 4th of July. So, what are we celebrating? What independence are we celebrating? Whose independence are we celebrating? Who's free? Who actually is free in the United States of America? Think about it. I mean, certainly not everyone. I don't see this as like the land of the free, the home of the brave, or anything like that. So this is what I know, is that I was married to an Army Ranger, or an ex-Army Ranger, combat veteran, who signed up for the military when he was 17 years old to escape a very terrible home life that was just horrible. And he already had a lot of psychological problems happening at the time. Besides just, obviously he had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. He was definitely traumatized from his experiences growing up. So when he was 17, the only options that he saw left to him were prison or joining the military like the rest of his family, and my family, actually. He had to sign a waiver to get in the first place. The United States military allowed a young man, a teenager, with severe violent mental health history and trauma. They allowed him to join him. They even actually encouraged him. The recruiters encouraged him to join, obviously. And my ex-husband, Michael, ended up joining the Special Forces. He volunteered for infantry, and he went through Ranger training after basic training and all that. Airborne school was 101st Airborne. And from what he told me, I guess his I think it was his 21st birthday, maybe his 18th birthday. Dang, I don't remember at the moment. But anyway, he was I guess so. The movie Black Hawk Down. It was set in somewhere called the Moog, I think. But anyways, he was in Africa. My ex was allegedly, we'll say, in Africa, just 'cause government. And so he was doing things there, and allegedly was involved in things such as destabilizing governments and interfering in a bunch of things. Allegedly. This is what the US government was about. Also, what people don't know is that allegedly the United States government has, or has in the past, but probably still has because I don't see them changing very quickly or ever. Hopefully they will. But their way of dealing with special forces, at the very least, is to give them not just injections and stuff, but little black pills. These little black pills are basically like speed, like methamphetamine. And allegedly, the Rangers were encouraged and told that they took those while they were out doing stuff. Mostly from what I gathered, a lot of the fighting has mostly been over oil and opium. Obviously, there's more things to say here that are a little more nuanced, but basically oil and opium is why the US interferes so much in the Middle East. Not to mention just general religious warfare. That is actually kind of a thing. But yeah, so my ex was telling me basically at one point that he was, when he was able to sleep, he'd be sleeping in like a little box. And he'd have like this little tiny box. And like, I guess he had pictures of like Britney Spears covered around the inside. And he was listening to Slayer all the time. And they were giving him a bunch of drugs and having him go out. And he was a sniper, but then he would also do stuff like would use coordinates. Which will blow people up. Well, speaking of that, my ex got blown up when he was a Humvee. After allegedly, he had just allegedly committed a war crime. Allegedly. Had been with his, I guess his ranger stick, his group, and allegedly shot someone in the face that they had tied to a chair or something because he was allegedly trying to scare everyone into giving him information. And allegedly, because of this guilt, my ex took his helmet off in the Humvee and sat there and put his head in his hands. And the Humvee ran over an IUD, which made the Humvee blow up. And so my ex blew up. He already had 2 Purple Hearts from saving the lives of a couple of his team members, a couple of the troops. But this time his brains were out of his head, apparently. They had to fly him into Germany and then into Houston Army Air Hospital. To put his, they had to put his brain back together as much as they could in Germany. Ship him over to Houston. And, then they basically just released him, and after he was well enough to let go, they just let him out. And my ex used to say stuff about sometimes people keep trying to put people back together, and sometimes maybe you should just let people die. And it sounds really harsh, but the pain that I saw that he was in was really messed up. He would wake up screaming a lot of nights because of he would just see all of the children that he had killed. Like, he would see, like, pits of bodies. And, he would wake up screaming. Wouldn't be able to sleep a lot. He would get the smell of, blood and cordite in his nostrils a lot. Like, and that's part of why I hate the 4th of July, is all the fireworks. The smell was a big trigger for him, and so it it fucks with me now, but it also just makes me think of so many people that are just messed with, not only because of the sound, but people don't think about the smell. The smell of the cordite, the smell of that explosion. People don't think about this stuff. I mean, my ex could barely take any blood much at all because of the smell of it, because he had bathed in it so heavily, allegedly. I'm throwing in so many allegedlys here, I'm trying to cover my butt. And we're just going to go into this being like, hi, I'm crazy. We're just like, I'm trying to not have the government come after me on this one. But I kind of don't care anymore. 3 years ago today, the 4th of July, I was celebrating being alive because my then husband at the time, Michael, Sergeant Thomas, and he had almost killed me in the woods. And when he almost killed me, there was part of him that wasn't there. He used to like end up being somewhere else. He would just go somewhere else. And even though he definitely had a lot of problems that were really involved and messed up, and the reason why he had to sign a waiver. He had to sign a waiver to get in the military, and they buried it. They buried the waiver so that no one would know that this guy should never have been allowed in the military in the first place. And they let him in, and then he almost killed me. And, when I met him, I was, as I am now, mentally ill. And I was then under psychiatric commitment, and he was in the same hospital. Now, of course, I should not have gone with him, and there's a lot of this, it's all my own choice, obviously. But because of everything I learned in that relationship and everything I saw, it just makes me have, hindsight's 2020. It wasn't a good idea at all. It was a horrible idea. And my life would be so different without all the trauma that I was caused because of that relationship. And the only reason why I was with him was because he was at that point, my whole family's military. So he was someone that my parents were would be cool. They were cool with, and he seemed I don't know, I guess I felt like I might be able to be safe around him. And he would say stuff that made me feel like I could be safe. And because he had this history, I felt like maybe he could. Which was a terrible, terrible idea, but I was very young. And he was definitely older than I was. And I didn't know any better. And, it's hard not to blame myself sometimes, but it is what it is. 4th of July, though, it sucks. We blow a bunch of things up every year, scare a bunch of veterans and animals, kill a bunch of animals with the fireworks, trigger a bunch of autistic people, too, and celebrate what? It's not like this country has any equality or justice. As far as I'm seeing, it's still illegal to be black in America. My friend says that all the time, and it's true. And, here's the thing. Going back to my ex also here for a moment. The U.S. military preys on vulnerable, poor people, young, vulnerable people with no prospects, with nothing going for them. That's the reason why most of my family ended up in the damn military. Because my whole family was coming from my dad and all his family. They were all coming from... My grandfather was horribly abusive as far as I know. And... And he was in the military too. It's family tradition. It gets passed on. It's a cult, really. And, my family would just join the military just to get out of the house, get away from the family, and also in a weird way, often to make my grandfather proud. Just, I almost joined the military, but there's so many reasons why that didn't happen. So many reasons. That's another story. But my brother is in the Air Force, last I knew. And he doesn't talk to me. But yeah, this has turned into a whole conversation. But yeah, the 4th of July is a day that I don't see us, like, what are we celebrating? Like, a friend of mine on TikTok was just talking about how they saw a friend of theirs in Portland get shot in the face because they were singing a song about Black Lives Matter this time, called Black Lives Matter. It was last year, July 4th, apparently, I guess. The kid's name was Donovan, and apparently he got shot. Right in front of my friend. Just to make a point to the crowd. So please tell me, like, how is this the land of the free? I mean, I would say it might be the home of the brave. Like, some of us are having to be fucking brave because we don't have a choice. But it's also the home of the cowards. You know? The cops who are cowards enough to have to shoot people instead of trying to find a different way to deal with the situation. When most of the time, there's a better way to deal with the situation than shoot someone, okay? But there we go. So, back to the story about my ex in the military. The United States military just released my ex down into Texas with a bag of prescription pills and a bunch of trauma in his brain. Both physiological from the brain damage and the combat PTSD, so many things. And from everything I know, apparently they didn't set him up with services. They didn't take the time to get him help or to where he needed to be, somewhere safe, to whatever, to deal with his stuff. And apparently they just didn't even help him with any services or anything. They just sent him out. And that didn't go well. Within the first few weeks of moving in with my ex, he had a really bad time where he flashed back to being in the Middle East. And he took my black lipstick and put it all over his face, put his combat boots on, laced them up, and was talking about having to go out and kill someone or something. I don't know. Hard to remember sometimes those little details there, because I just remember that he was acting erratic and paranoid and but very. He knew that there was something he had to go do and someone he had to go do something. It was very concerning. It was very scary, and I was very young and uneducated and unexperienced, and it was my first serious relationship. So it was a really strange experience, but he just totally didn't even really remember it the next day, whatever, And the pain that I saw him go through, and then the pain that I was forced to go through because of the pain he put me through, it left me with a lot to be unhappy with the United States government. Because they do just prey on vulnerable people for no damn reason. My ex, his buddy in the stick, his name is TJ. And from everything I've gathered, I think he was Navajo. But he lost his leg and apparently was never quite the same, And we had to pass in when we were living in Eugene. When we were walking, we would have to pass by this memorial, like, all the time. All the time. And I don't remember the kid's real name because I was mostly trying to take care of my ex at the time during this, but the memorial was people from the area who had actually been killed overseas in the military. And it was one of them on there was a good friend of my ex's named his nickname was Goat. And the number of times that we sat at that damn gravestone. And I'm pretty sure that my ex actually was holding Goat in his arms when he died. And I wish that I knew the kid's real name. Isn't that silly? But, you know, why did he die? What did he die for? You know, and why... No one understands the amount of trauma that I've been left with either based on the relationship that I had to go through, because people don't understand. The military, they don't get it. After that relationship, because of everything, I was trained. I mean, it's not like I hadn't been going through some, like, pre-training growing up just because whole military family, but my God. Now I check everywhere. I check on rooftops, I check under bushes. For people, for guns, for sights. There are things that I'm aware of now that I was never aware of before. I was introduced to a lot of things that I wish that I could forget. And I was told a lot of stories that I'm very hesitant to repeat, and this whole thing has gone on longer than I thought it would. I've said more than I think I planned to. But somehow this story has to be told. And I've got to tell this story before I can't. For whatever reason. Life is weird, and I gotta tell the story. And, before my ex was in the military, he was holding guns to his step-parents. His dad and his stepmom's head at night. He was gonna shoot him. And, blew up his school locker by accident. Because he was gonna blow up a bridge with his friend. And, you know, there was just a lot going on. And he had already been diagnosed as bipolar. They had already diagnosed him with having a lot of things going on. And it wasn't just the diagnosis, it was he was showing some concerning behaviors, and they let him in anyways. And, I'm still concerned to this day as to what he actually did overseas. And I don't want to know. Because he was already unfit to go into service to begin with. And I can't really imagine what he might have done. Because even he hinted at things, and I tried not to ask more questions too much. Sometimes you just don't want to know, right? But yeah, 4th of July, right? Celebrating all of those, lives ruined in the process of creating a greater capitalist America, where those at the bottom just get exploited or left behind, or worse. And the government won't even admit to anything. None of this kind of stuff. The world is a tough place, I just wish that people didn't have to make it harder. Because what are we really celebrating? What this whole last year? It's been 2020 to 2021. And here we are. Still protesting Black Lives Matter. Asian lives matter. Fuck, just stop killing us, right? But happy fucking 4th of July, right? I don't know how much more I have to say about all this. But what I do know is that the military, as far as I'm personally concerned, it's a con, it's a cult, it's a scam. Slayer has a song called Expendable Youth. And you know, that is how we are seen as when you are a young person, especially in America. Specifically, the government is very interested in exploiting you and sucking you into the military. And trust me, it changes people. I'm not saying that it's always for the bad or that everybody, like, whatever. I mean, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. But I've seen the pain and the kind of changes it can cause. Because, you know, there's this saying that goes around. You know, they train you how to be a soldier, but then once you get out, they don't train you how to be a civilian again. And they don't. So instead of becoming a civilian again, my ex tried to instead just continue doing what he knew how to do. Be a sergeant. Tried to instruct me. Taught me things about fighting people. Taught me things. We had some experiences, and most of them have just led me to think that this country is just so exploitative and destructive. And it's not that a revolution is just long overdue. It's not even just that. This country never should have been created to begin with. But it was. Here we are. So, here I am. I've been up all night. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. Happy fucking 4th of July. I doubt this will get monetized. But you never know. One way or the other, it's just important to get this message out. I mean, today is a day that a lot of people are celebrating America. And, you know, the more... That's the problem, though, is that there's just so much of the activism going on lately. There's forever, there's just performative that nothing... People will just go back to their regular lives, and they will just go celebrate the 4th of July and be like, what? Why is there something wrong with the 4th of July? Well, because this country was built on destroying lives, eradicating and relocating, stealing, kidnapping Indigenous children, built on the back of slaves, indentured servants, unwilling participants. Not to mention the Japanese internment camps. Let's not forget the fact that America has and has had We have a long history of our own concentration camps, okay? Just look around you. Also, happy 4th of July. Have you thought about the prison system lately? Because it's messed up. The United States has the biggest prison system anywhere, as far as I know. California has the 3-strike rule, so once you get 3 felonies, you jail for life. You go to prison for life. For life. It doesn't matter what it was for. It doesn't matter. So, there's just no room there. And honestly, with the prejudice, and with cops just trying to be like this, whatever they're trying to be, so many of them, you can get that 3 strikes real easy. And all over the country, it just doesn't matter. There's so many problems. I mean, even here, I couldn't even ride my bike down the street without getting a ticket just for riding my bike. Legally. But that's a small peanut. But it's a nicer small peanut to start ending this video on. If you've made it all the way through to the end, please let me know, because I have talked for a whole half hour now. This has been a rant. Let me know what you think about what I'm painting. I've been working on it actually since last fall. But I was working on it last time I was having a mental breakdown. But, yeah. I'll catch you later. Hit the like button, though, if you actually liked this or whatever. So it'll help this video get further. Likes, comments, shares, that kind of stuff can help this video get a little further if you want to try and spread this message a little bit. And, yeah, just... we keep persevering. You know? So... anyways, please, no one wish me a happy 4th of July. It's not what I want to be being wished. So I'll wish all of you, instead, just a very happy unbirthday. And a thank you for sticking with me through this entire video. I'm going to keep working on this. Woo, but I gotta stop this video because otherwise it might cut out. And I've been talking too long for it to do that. So I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.